Hi Papercrafters, welcome to another Design with Joe video. I'm Joanne Rogers, a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Central Alberta, Canada, and I've been designing with you in mind since 1999. Today's video is an edited version of a live recording. Enjoy! I have a card for you today. I have 3 cards actually for you, all based on the same design, and that's what Case the Cattie is all about. So what I do is I take a look at, I find a sample in the current catalogs, and they're made by the Stampin' Up! Concept artists, and I would love that job. So months and months and months ahead of when that catalog comes out, these folks get the stamp sets and the new things, and they get to play. So what I'm doing is I'm taking what they are making and I'm showing you how to make those at home. Please share this with your friends on Facebook and follow me, and because it's a great way for us to share our love of crafting and paper crafting, and it's a great way for us to connect too. So on a Thursday morning, when you have your teacup or your coffee cup in hand, just kick back, relax, and we will make a fabulous design. And you'll see a couple other designs too, because I want to show you how you can make this yourself at home. I put a picture up. I put this picture up. Of course, it was really small, but I asked you which one you thought I was going to make, and I think I had quite a few guesses on just about everything here. So I don't tell you right now. You can sort of you'll figure it out almost as soon as I start. So we are going to make one of these, and I'm going to take away maybe some of the guesswork for it. So let's get started. I'm going to be working with different paper, and that's one of the things with my Case the Cattie is I don't make the exact sample that's on the catalog, in the catalog. 1, because I may not have all the supplies for it, and 2, because I want to show you some options. So we're going to use the Harvest Meadow. So this is very, very pretty paper for fall or harvest. And when you live on a farm like I do, that's perfect. But the colors in here, Bumblebee, Calypso Coral, we have Misty Moonlight. And this one is really sort of an interesting mix in there, and that is Soft Succulent. But it's got some great designs. And today I'm going to be working with this one right here. So we're going to go with some Bumblebee and some Calypso Coral. So what we need for our card, and I'm going to be doing 2 parts, you'll see, and you probably guessed right now which one it is I'm going to be making. We're going to make a card, and we're going to make the envelope to go along with the card, which is sometimes almost more important, because when you make a card that's a different size, and this one is a different size from normal, you sometimes don't have an envelope to go with it. So this is one that takes the guesswork. So what we need a piece of cardstock, and our card is 6 1/4 by 4 7/8. So 4 7/8 this way, 6 1/4 this way, and you score it on that long side at 3 1/8 so that it folds in half like that. So it's a little bit taller than it is wide the way we are going to use it. And this is Calypso Coral. And then you need a piece of designer series paper, whatever one you choose. And this piece here is 3 by 4 3/4. Go. And then I picked the same paper, but you can go with some alternate papers. And this one here, I'm going to go with the same, but you want to stick around to the end because I've got a couple other samples to show you with different themes. But this paper is 7 by 7, and we're going to use this one later. And then you need a scrap piece, and this is just scrap thick vanilla. So to go along with that paper is the Nature's Harvest stamp set and the dies. So the Nature's Harvest stamp set is very, vintage, I guess is the word that suits it the best. And I have to say, I didn't really notice this stamp set at the time that I first took a flip through the catalog. And it wasn't until I went backwards, and what I do is I go frontwards and then I go backwards the next time I pick it up. And that is this is where I found this one. So Nature's Harvest. And it has a set of dies that go along with it. So there's dies that go around these big echinacea flowers is what I'm going to call them, but they can be black-eyed or brown-eyed Susans, I think. I'm not too sure what other ones you can get. What other flowers do you think? Maybe a daisy, possibly? Any other things that you think we could make out of that particular flower? And it could be that I just don't know my flowers well enough. Then there's this little guy right here, and that also has a die that goes around it. And what Stampin' Up's starting to do a lot is have some tags, different tags in their dies, and these will fit all of the all of these words except for this guy. I found that this one, it doesn't really, I think it will just fit in there if you wanted to do it. Okay, and then this is the great part of these dies. Look at these flowers. So there's some wheat, but it doesn't have to be wheat. It could be really just any kind of flower. I don't know. Almost the bottom part almost looks like in the water bulrushes kind of thing, but this isn't a bulrush top. And then there's the flower itself. There's another flower here that's got sort of crinkled kind of edges, and then there is a branch. So there's some really great things in this set of dies. So we're going to be using them today. So I have my Misty Moonlight ink, and I have my Calypso Coral ink, which is going to coordinate with my paper. And I'm going to pull in this, and I've also already got ready the large stamp, and then we're going to do the thank you. Okay, so I'm going to stamp the big one with my Calypso Coral. Now, when you have a bigger stamp than your stamp pad, or about the same size even, I always turn my stamp upside down and lay it on its back, and then I take my pad and I pat it all over. Okay, so just give it a good little pat there. And you don't want to have your ink pads inked way too much. You just want them inked so that you get a really good impression. So when you're stamping, you want to hold on to that pad with the block rather, with two hands, and you're going to stamp straight down, and you're going to hold it there. You're not going to wiggle it around. You're just going to hold it there, and then you're going to lift straight up, and you might need to hold on to your paper and lift straight up. And what you get is a beautiful flower, just like the stamp set. We are not going to color this flower today. We are just going to leave it like that because it's beautiful all on its own. And then there's enough room up here that I can just take the thank you, and this is the Misty Moonlight, and I'm just going to stamp that here. Now we are going to be cutting these out, so I don't need to worry about being straight with my words. We're going to take the outline ones, and we're going to go right over top. And we're going to take this guy and go over top. Now, I've already got these cut out, but for these ones here, because they're close to the image, I would take a couple pieces of washi tape on this one as well as this one to make sure that it doesn't move. Because sometimes when you put it into your die cutting machine, these might move around, and so you don't want that to happen. So I have already done that for you. So what I have is one of these and one of these. Okay, so that is how you get those guys done. So I'm going to use this one right here. Okay, we're not going to use this one today or this one, and we're not going to use this, but we are going to use this one. So I'm going to take that, and is it just the right size? It might just be the right size. It's okay because I do have it cut out already. So what I have, I'm going to put that on there, and I'm going to also run that through my die cut machine. Okay, now one thing you can think about doing is using something, because this is a die, here's my cutout one. This is a die that has some more delicate pieces. Okay, so it's got some fairly narrow little spots, and you have to find spots to put glue on. Now, you can do this, and you can certainly sponge on top. But what I did instead is I took some of our double-sided adhesive sheets, and I put it on the back of my blue first, okay? And you can't see it anymore because it's gone, but it goes on the back or the front of the blue because it's the same on either side. You take off one, and then you glue it down. And then I cut it out. So then I have the white, and I'm able to stick this down. So I'll show you how that works in just a moment. Okay, so let's put it together. So we need a couple other things. We need to have some ribbon. And so the ribbon that I pulled out, you're going to think, hey, that doesn't match. And you're right, that doesn't match. This is the Pale Papaya ribbon. It's the open weave ribbon. And it's really quite pretty because it's got a sheen to it. It's got like a shine. Here's a piece of yucky old paper. And this is great. So I've cut a little piece. And this ribbon is about, I don't know, 3 inches, probably 3.5 inches. So I am going to use my Misty Moonlight, and I pulled out the dark one here. No, sorry, it's the light one. And you want to use your brush tip, but you want to be really careful when you're using your brush tip that you are not using it on its tip, not like this. You want to use it on its side, and you want to be very gentle with it. But you're just going to hold that ribbon down, and you're just going to take your marker and just run it all across the top. Okay, you don't need to have white in order to change the color. This is the lightest of the in colors. So this pale papaya is one of the new in colors. Now this will dry pretty quickly. I might be getting a little, it might not be quite dry when I'm picking it up, but it's going to dry, and you're able to change the entire piece of ribbon. Now you might need to pull it, turn it over and do the other side, but I've found that it goes through quite well. And now you could touch it up a little bit if you wanted, but it looks pretty good to me. So that's how you can make a ribbon that's going to match the rest of your card. Okay, so I think I have everything that I need. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this guy, and I'm just going to use minis because that's what I have here right now. So minis work really well, and I found that for me, for some reason, it's hard for me to pick them up. They're a little bit small. So I go in with my take your pick tool and the pointy end, and I pick them up with that. And I'm going to put 4 on here. Okay, so that it is going to go across. So I'm done with that guy here. Now I am going to do a little bit of gluing with this one right here because I did not put the self-adhesive. So I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can glue down. I'm going to put this one down first. So I'm going to use my seal for that. And I have found that when I'm using my seal, I use it on top of my silicone mat, and it's able to be, it rolls just a lot easier. Sometimes I do have to get it started. Right now today, it's working really, really well. But I have found that this is one thing that you do need to practice with a little bit and go slower than what you normally are used to. So now this is just going to go right down on the front of your card. Make sure my fold is on the left-hand side, and it is. And try and get that down nice and straight. So it covers up the majority of the card with just a little bit of a mat showing in behind there. Okay, the next thing that's going to go down is this guy. So he's going to go in the background, and then this one's going to go over top. So this guy, what we need to do, and it may be easier to do this with your take your pick, but I actually, coincidentally, and I didn't plan this, I have a tiny little bit that's not glued on that little bit of the back. So I'm going to just lift up with my take your pick. Now this is sticky, so you just want to be a little bit careful, and you're going to peel that off. And the whole thing is going to come off and just sort of peel. Okay, you want to be fairly gentle. You can see that it looks a little wonky right now, so I am going to straighten that out just a little bit. It's sticky, so try not to get too much on your hands. And this is going to go up here. And I'm just going to lay it down. Now, one thing you can do, because these are so flexible, I could have splayed it out even a little bit. So I'm going to glue this down. Now, if you wanted, you could have put it on top of your designer paper first, but I don't mind it sticking out the bottom. Because now I'm just going to go on with my paper snips, and I'm just going to cut that off from the back. Okay, so there we have, now we could just leave it like that, but I also want to put this over top. Okay, so I want to just have a background there, and I want to have these guys. And I don't think I'm going to put those on with dimensionals. I'm going to use some liquid glue. So liquid glue, because I want it to sit down there pretty good. Now liquid glue, I could have used my double-sided adhesive if I wanted, but I do find that liquid glue is probably the most economical adhesive that we have in the catalog. It goes a long way, one of those guys, and it works wonderfully. So let's just put this guy here. Now, this is going to be slightly different than the one in the catalog, and I will pull that in just a minute to show you. And the reason why is I want to show you some variety. So then there is, I'll show you right now. Okay, so you probably have figured out we are doing this card right here. And the measurements for this card were in the information that we get as demonstrators. It doesn't necessarily look like that's the same size as what they have in the catalog, but that's what they gave us. So this is what we're working with. Now there's some in behind, there was a little bit of stamping and some die cuts, and then there's a tiny little bit of ribbon here. So I'm going to take this ribbon, I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to pull out my my soon to be done package of glue dots, and I take this, oh, this one came off. I'm going to take both pieces, I'm going to put it right over top. Sometimes it'll go through both, sometimes it won't. So that one, it looks like it might just go through both. So I'm going to take that, I've picked it up right there, and I'm just going to place it down so that it extends over here. And just to be sure, I am going to take another glue dot and I'm going to put that over top so that it sticks together. So now some dimensionals. So take the backing off your minis, and we're going to place this over top here, try and get it straight. Okay, now what I did notice with the other ones I did is because it's over top of the ribbon, it doesn't glue. So I take a little bit of my white glue again, the liquid, the mono adhesive, and I'm just going to place it right in there. Can you see? And I'm just going to place that down. And you might need to put something on top of it just to hold it in place. So if you take a punch or something like that, that will hold it in place. So there's our card. Okay, I am going to put I'm going to put this block over top of it. There's our card. And there's actually no other bling on here. That moved a little bit. No other bling besides this. And I'm just going to put this off to the side with this block on it to hold the glue down. And you shouldn't have to leave that on there all that long. So now let's make the envelope that goes along with it. So I've got my piece of 7 by 7, and I'm going to pull in my Simply Scored. So this is my scoring tool, and I use this scoring tool every single day. Okay, so I have mine out all the time, and these are the measurements that you want to score at. So you want to score at, you put it in, put it right up to the left side, and you're going to score it at 3/4. And because we are the same measurement all the way around, it doesn't matter which side you start with, 5 3/4. Then you're going to turn it around so that you're scoring the other side, and you're going to score that one at 2 and 5 1/4. Make sure I'm in the right place. 5 1/4. And then we're done with our Simply Scored. You can put that back in there. But now we have to do a little bit of cutting, and I like to do my cutting before I do my folding. So we are going to cut off all of these 4. So you can see there's little bits here. We're going to cut them all off. So when I'm scoring, is it easier to see on that side? Not really. So when I'm cutting, what I do, so here's the line. I go in a little bit on an angle. So I go above the line here, and I go a little bit of angle right to where those 2 score lines meet. Okay, so mine isn't going to be completely rectangular. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to make a little bit of a wedge, really, and I'm going to pull that off. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to come in and go to the score line. And this one here, same thing. So what I'm doing is just creating a little bit more. It's going to fit perfectly, and you're not worried about it being square, because sometimes when you cut it just square, it sometimes doesn't fit. Same thing up here. Okay, so you just want to take a little bit of care. You could zoom around here really, really quickly, but you don't have to, because you want to have fairly straight lines. Okay, there's all of our pieces. You might be able to use those for something else. So you'll see that we have a smaller side here and a bigger side. Take your bone folder, and I want this to be outside. So I am going to take this, go around all of my score lines, and just give them a really firm run over with your bone folder. Okay, now what we're going to do before we do anything else, I want to curve just the ends of the top of the envelope, just these 2 points right here. And so this is the Detailed Trio punch. I'm going to take this point and stick it right in. Make sure it's in the right spot. There we go. And then you just need to, this one I have to use sitting on the table. just because there are 3 different punches here. So I want to use the flat of my hand to get this side. Okay, so now what we have is a rounded edge. And I'm only going to round that side. So now we're going to glue it together. And I'm going to use liquid glue for this. And I'm going to take, what I do is I put the right side in. I don't know why I do that. Maybe because it's the bigger one. I put just a bead of glue along here. And then I put a bead of glue along here. Now I do know that this is slightly, it's going to have a good overlap so that I'm going to, if you look at it coming this way, you can see that there is an overlap. So I'm going to have glue over here from this one and glue on the inside. So it's going to be well glued together. It's not going to come apart. And then I'm going to fold up the bottom edge. And I just put some glue all the way along there. Now I'm not going to glue that top edge. I'm going to pull that in again, that picture, because they did something else. And I'm going to show you how to do this. Now you could just leave it like this. And I have another variation that I want to show you afterwards. But I'm going to do what they did. So I'm going to pull in the Label Me Fancy punch. So this is a tag, but it also has a small dot, which is a 1/16 inch, I think, and, or one, no, it's not 1/8, 1/16. And then this is just a slot. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to make a mark with my pencil somewhere that's sort of in the middle. Okay, so just a little tiny mark that I'm going to be able to see when I put the punch in. And when I put it in, you can see you don't want to go too far. So if I went too far, what's going to happen is I'm going to cut off this part here. So I want to make sure that I'm not too far. I want to, and my line might be a little bit too far. You want it not inside. You want it to be where you can't see it. So I'm just going to, when you're happy with it, just punch. So just a little trick. And that's because I did it wrong one time. So there you go. There's your little envelope, perfect little envelope. Your card's going to fit in there perfectly. Now let's just do what they did on the outside. So I had colored another piece of my pale papaya. And what they did do is they came in from the bottom like that. They rolled it around the top. And this is about 22 inches of ribbon. Now, that might have been a little over generous. It almost looks like it is, doesn't it? So you can adjust that, but I am going to tie it in a bow. You can tie it just in a knot if you want. This is where you know, if you had another pair of hands, it would actually be very helpful. Let's see if I can get that while I'm on camera. Not too bad. Okay, and you can just tighten that up. So that's all that they've done. I want it sort of even. That's all they've done. And you can decorate the outside if you want, or you leave it. So there is the card from the annual catalog. I've used this paper, and this paper is the In Good Taste. And many of you may have this paper. It is lovely paper, and it's got great, it's hard to tell on my little sample here, but this is a wood grain that is a dark, dark wood grain. And what I used with it is these cool things. So this is the Blackberry Beauty ephemera. And what these are, you pull them out and they are punch out. So I use this guy here and you'll see that in a minute. There's 2 sheets of this one and these all punch out, and there's little squares. They've got the leaves on it. There's little banners. The tag is right here. Okay, so you get 2 of each one. This one's got lots of gold and flowers that match. And this isn't the stamp set from this Blackberry Bliss. This is a different one that I'm using. And then there's some blackberry, and there's an owl in that one if you're an owl person or you know someone who is. So these are really quite cool. And that's what I used for the tag. And let me show you the card. So I did a different ribbon on this one. I just did a ribbon across the flap, and then that's going to pull out. So I'm going to write the name of who I'm going to give this to, and then here's the card. Okay, so just a little thank you card. I did put some bling on this guy. I've got the lots of thanks, and that actually comes from the Penguin stamp set. And there's the ephemera. So they're glued down, and you can see it catching the gold. So that is another alternative. I'm going to ask you, of course, at the end, which one you like better. So let me pull this one out. So there's the one we made. I'll put the ribbon back on when I send it. And I have one more for you too. So this guy is going to be Christmas. So this one is, now this one I would do differently. I did the envelope first, and then I put on the same ribbon because I wanted to show you what that looked like. So this ribbon is the Cherry Cobbler Gold Shimmer, I think it's called. And then I have just a little tag so that you can write somebody's name on there, and you can tell maybe which paper I'm using. It is the Sweet Stockings paper, and I love the expressions on the animals in here, and I'm using this paper right here, and this little guy I cut out. So this is the envelope, and here is the card. Okay, so we have our little card. I love this guy right here. So this little fella is just, does he not look merry? I'm thinking, wow, he looks so unmerry. So this is the paper, exactly the same design, just using a punch instead of using a die. This one is using the ephemera. This one was using a die. So it shows you that you can use pretty much what you have at home. If you have punches, use your punch. The only thing that I want to point out is in the catalog, let me find it again. I always put it away. In the catalog, if you look at the one that they used, their die is going off the edge of the card. So it's not going to fit in that envelope because it's a fairly snug fit. It comes out, you saw how it goes out and in. But in this card here, you are going, and to fit in that envelope, you're going to want to move that over just a little bit. Okay, so it is a design idea, but just from practicality, it may not work the best. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and join me next week again for Case the Cattie, and also on Tuesday night for our on-command crafting, where you guys let me know how we're going to create a card. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Bye.